There is a quiet, suffocating room where many faithful souls spend their entire lives. It is a room built not of brick or mortar, but of whispered assumptions and misread verses. You have likely been there. It is the place where you pray for provision, but feel guilty for wanting to be free from debt. It is the sanctuary of the humble, where staying small is mistaken for staying holy. Before we step into the light of the truth, take a moment to subscribe and join our community so we can dismantle these walls together. Today, we peel back the layers of a deception that has kept millions of sincere Christians stagnant, waiting for a breakthrough that never arrives because they are sitting on the very keys meant to set them free. Consider the story of David, a man living in a quiet suburban town in Ohio. David spent 30 years working as a craftsman, a talented carpenter who could shape wood into works of art. Yet, David lived in a state of perpetual anxiety. Every time a bill arrived, his stomach turned. He believed that money was a slippery slope toward arrogance. He believed that his poverty was a badge of his spiritual purity. He would sit in church on Sunday mornings, listening to sermons about grace, while his mounting credit card debt screamed a different reality on Monday morning. David felt that if he asked for more, if he dared to expand his business or charge what his work was truly worth, he would be betraying the spirit of the widow who gave her 2 mites. He was trapped in a cycle of survival, convinced that God demanded his struggle as a sacrifice. But David was not being holy. David was being deceived. He was burying his talent in the ground because he feared that the master of the vineyard was a harsh man. This is the core of the problem, a fundamental, often unconscious misunderstanding of our stewardship. We have been taught to equate poverty with piety. We have been conditioned to believe that the desire for abundance is inherently selfish or worldly. But let us look at the silence behind that assumption. When you reject the capacity to generate wealth, you are not rejecting greed. You are rejecting the very tools required to influence the world for the kingdom. Think about the energy consumed by the constant fear of lack. It is a heavy, dark shroud. It clouds your ability to hear the gentle whisper of the Holy Spirit because your mind is perpetually occupied with the arithmetic of desperation. When you are terrified of the next utility bill, you are not focused on your purpose. You are focused on your survival. And that is exactly where the enemy wants you. David lived this reality for decades. He missed his daughter's college graduation because he was taking on emergency repairs for a client who treated him poorly, laboring under the suffocating weight of a scarcity mindset. He felt that this was his burden to bear. He believed that God was testing his endurance. But the reality was much colder. The reality was that David had accepted a lie that poverty was his ordained state. He saw his work as a means to survive rather than a vessel for divine order. He did not realize that the system of the world thrives on this specific breed of hopelessness. When you are in survival mode, you stop being a creator and you start being a consumer of your own anxiety. You stop looking for opportunities to serve others with excellence, and you start looking for ways to just make it to the weekend. The agitation of this state is profound. It is not just about the empty bank account. It is the erosion of your dignity. It is the quiet resentment that settles in your heart when you see others thrive, and you wonder why God has bypassed your door. It is the exhaustion of trying to serve a God of abundance while living in the narrow confines of a spirit of lack. You begin to question your own worth. You begin to question God's character. If He is a good Father, why does He seem to find pleasure in your poverty? This is the most dangerous consequence of all. It creates a wedge between you and the Creator. You start to view Him as a withholding landlord rather than the source of all things. The tension builds in the dead of night, in the quiet, empty spaces of your home, where you wrestle with the contradiction between the promises of the Bible and the reality of your empty refrigerator. There is a way out, but it requires a painful shedding of your most comfortable beliefs. Let us look at the transformation that happened when David finally encountered a different perspective. It didn't happen overnight with a miracle of lightning. It happened through a shift in his vision. He began to study the stories of the stewards in the Bible, not as characters in a dusty book, but as blueprints for living. He began to realize that Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob were not people who thrived in spite of their faith, but because of it. He saw that God gave them the power to get wealth so that his covenant might be established on earth. David realized that he had been interpreting his own hesitation as humility, when in fact it was fear. Fear is the opposite of faith. When you are afraid of having enough, you are essentially saying that you do not trust the provider to keep you humble while you possess the resources. The transition from a poverty mindset to a kingdom mindset is not about greed, it is about maturity. It is about understanding that you are a manager of assets that do not belong to you, but are lent to you for a purpose. When David changed his internal narrative, he stopped viewing his carpentry business as a tool for his survival and started viewing it as a ministry of excellence. He stopped apologizing for his prices and started charging for the value he provided. He realized that when he provided superior work, he was blessing his neighbor, and when he was paid well for it, he was being equipped to bless even more people. The shift was radical. His business didn't just grow, it transformed. He found himself with the margin to give, the margin to save, and most importantly, the margin to breathe. This is the solution, and it is accessible to anyone listening today, regardless of your current tax bracket. You must first audit your internal monologue. Every time you think, "I cannot afford it," replace it with, "How can I be a better steward to create the value that allows for this?" Every time you feel that tickle of guilt for wanting to succeed, ask yourself, does my success hinder the kingdom? Or does it give me a louder voice and a stronger hand to help those who are truly in need? You are not called to be a victim of the economy. You are called to be a participant in the heavenly economy, which operates on the principles of sowing, reaping, and multiplication. The biblical perspective on wealth is not about hoarding. It is about the flow of resources. A lake that does not have an outlet becomes a swamp, but a river that flows freely stays fresh and life-giving. Think of your life as a vessel. If you are constantly afraid of having too much, you are essentially asking God to keep your vessel small. But why would the creator of the universe, who owns the cattle on 1,000 hills, want you to live in a state of limitation? He wants to entrust you with more, but he cannot entrust you with the harvest if you are still too terrified to plant the seeds. The poverty mindset is a cage of your own making, locked from the inside by the fear of being seen, the fear of change, and the fear of responsibility. You must accept that wealth is a tool of influence. In the coming times, those who are financially sound will be the ones who can protect their families, support their communities, and stand tall when the systems of the world begin to falter. This is not about fear. It is about preparation. It is about having the wisdom to manage the resources that God has placed within your reach. Let us dig deeper into the archaeology of your mind. We often inherit our relationship with money from our parents, our culture, and the environments we grew up in. If you were raised in a home where every conversation about money was laced with tension, scarcity, and anxiety, then you have likely internalized that frequency. It becomes your default setting. You don't even know you're doing it. It's like breathing. You subconsciously sabotage your own opportunities because your brain thinks, this is not who we are. We are the people who struggle. We are the people who scrape by. But you are a new creation. The old has passed away. You have the mind of Christ, and the mind of Christ is not a mind of scarcity. It is a mind of divine order, provision, and authority. I want you to visualize your life 5 years from now if you refuse to change. The same loops, the same prayers, the same empty feelings. Now visualize the alternative. A life where you are a lighthouse for others, where you are not just surviving but thriving, where you have the freedom to follow the promptings of the Spirit without having to check the balance of your checkbook first. This is not a dream. This is a biblical promise for those who align their minds with the wisdom of the Word. The Bible says that the wealth of the sinner is laid up for the just. But if the just refuse to manage that wealth, if they are too afraid to step into the role of a steward, then it remains in the hands of those who do not know the purpose of the master. The mystery of wealth is that it is not found in the money itself. It is found in the character of the one holding it. This is why many people who win the lottery or experience sudden unearned windfalls often lose it all. They have the money, but they do not have the stewardship. They have not been through the fire of building, the patience of planting, and the discipline of managing. If you want to change your financial trajectory, do not pray for a windfall. Pray for the wisdom to build. Pray for the eyes to see opportunities where others see only obstacles. Pray for the courage to release the security blanket of your struggle and embrace the responsibility of growth. Consider the widow who was instructed by the prophet to borrow vessels, not just a few. She was asked to prepare for an overflow. If she had only brought 1 or 2 jars, her provision would have been limited by her own lack of preparation. The oil kept flowing as long as there were vessels to receive it. Your life is the vessel. How many jars are you bringing to the table? Are you bringing tiny, timid cups, or are you preparing to receive an abundance that can be used to bless others? You are the limiting factor in your own story. God is ready. The source is infinite. The question is whether you are ready to expand your capacity. It is time to be honest about the systems we live in. We are in a period of history where the old ways of thinking about money are becoming increasingly obsolete. The global landscape is shifting. Information is becoming the new currency. Excellence is becoming the new competitive advantage. Those who cling to a victim mentality, who believe that their lack is a sign of their spiritual superiority, will find themselves increasingly vulnerable to the tides of the world. But those who understand that they are stewards of the kingdom will always find a way to thrive, because their source is not the economy of men, but the economy of the Most High. You might be thinking that this sounds too demanding. You might be comfortable in your struggle. It's a familiar weight, and sometimes it's easier to carry a known burden than to step into the unknown of potential. But the cost of staying where you are is far higher than the cost of changing. You are paying for it with your peace. You are paying for it with your time. You are paying for it with your future. Is it really worth it to maintain the comfort of your poverty-stricken identity at the expense of everything you were created to do? The Creator did not give you a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. A sound mind is a mind that is capable of managing, building, and creating. Let's talk about the practical application of this shift. It begins with your conversation. Stop speaking lack over your life. Stop telling your friends and your family that you are getting by. Start speaking life. Start declaring that you are a steward of the kingdom. When you have a debt, don't just complain about it. Create a plan to conquer it. When you have a need, don't just pray for it to disappear. Ask for the wisdom to create the value that satisfies the need. This is the work of a kingdom citizen. It is active, it is intentional, and it is honorable. Many of you have been waiting for a sign. You've been waiting for a moment where suddenly everything becomes clear or a door swings open without you having to knock. But that is not how it works. You are the door. You are the one who must move. You are the one who must knock. You are the one who must take the first step into the territory of your potential. And when you do, you will find that the resources you needed were there all along, hidden in the very places you were too afraid to look. There is a profound peace that comes with financial stewardship. It is not the peace of having millions in the bank. It is the peace of knowing that you are in alignment with the divine purpose for your time and your resources. It is the peace of knowing that when you have, you are ready to give, and when you do not have, you are ready to work. It is a life of balance, a life of integrity, and a life of constant growth. This is the life that God intended for you. It is a life of abundance, not for your own sake, but for the sake of the mission you were sent here to fulfill. As we conclude this reflection, remember that the poverty mindset is just a shade, and a shade can be drawn back. You have the power to let the light in. You have the power to define your own story. You have the power to stop being a passenger in your own life and start being the one who holds the wheel. Do not stay in the room of assumptions. Do not sit in the sanctuary of smallness. Step out. Look at the horizon of your potential and realize that the God of the harvest is waiting for you to start tilling the ground. If this message has stirred something within you, if you are finally ready to shed the skin of your former status and walk into the abundance of your calling, then take the next step. Subscribe to this channel, engage with our content, and let us continue this journey of transformation together. We are building a community of stewards, a collective of people who are not afraid of wealth, but who are dedicated to the responsibility that comes with it. The world is changing, and you must be prepared. This is your moment. This is your time to step into the fullness of your destiny. Do not let another day pass in the shadow of a misunderstanding. The truth is waiting for you, and it is ready to make you free. Prepare your vessels, for the oil is ready to flow. The path is open, the wisdom is available, and the time for your breakthrough is now. Turn away from the old, step into the light, and never look back at the room of scarcity again. Your journey as a kingdom steward begins today. The shift you need is not a shift of location. It is a shift of heart. It is the decision to stop being an observer of greatness and to become a practitioner of it. The world is waiting for your contribution. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers, those who have the mindset to manage the abundance without being consumed by it, are few. Be the one who stands up. Be the one who says, I will learn, I will grow, I will build, and I will give. When you make that decree, the entire trajectory of your life changes. The scarcity you once feared becomes a distant memory, replaced by the clarity of your vision and the power of your execution. Now is the moment to close the door on the old way of thinking. Take a deep breath and realize that you are capable of far more than you have ever demonstrated. The resources are there, the opportunities are waiting, and the wisdom is calling. You only need to answer. Move forward with confidence, knowing that your life is being prepared for a purpose that is greater than anything you have yet imagined. Rise up, steward your life, and take the position that has been reserved for you since the beginning of time. Your season of increase has arrived. The work begins now, and you are ready.